Like I promised last time, new teaser, new video. We were introduced to a lot of characters, some we already knew, others we knew by name, but most of them are completely new ones. We got to see the extreme elegance of Fontaine, but also how mysterious and deceiving it's gonna be, and I like it. I need to thank one of my viewers, John Nunez, sorry if I butchered your name, because he helped in the community section with the characters' names, especially since I'm making this video in just one single day. As always, this is a theory video. I use information available in the game and in the official videos, but my conclusions are not to be considered the official lore, unless they are confirmed in the game itself. With that being said, let's begin our analysis. The first character we see is Freminet, a cryo-claymore character, one of the most renowned divers in Fontaine. Despite his incredible traits when it comes to diving and maritime knowledge, he is pretty much a lone wolf. He is not comfortable with people in general. In the trailer, he says that he has a mission, which is pretty interesting also considering that his constellation is called Automaton, and in the previous teaser we saw Ether fighting an automaton similar to the defense mechanism on Dragonspine. So I would bet Freminet's field of research revolves around the ruins of the ancient civilization that now lies underwater. Furthermore, his introduction is called Yearning for Unseen Depths, and that supports this theory. What Egeria, the narrator of the video, says though is very much cryptic.
The original sin is the fairest. Everyone sinks. Make the most of the final feast, because for the sinners, the curtain call has come.
Now, the second part is kinda understandable since Lieben told us that the people of Fontaine believe something like a judgment day is coming. The original sin though, that makes people sink, is pretty interesting. We don't know who Egeria is, and she's never shown in the video, but her name comes from the legendary nymph from early history of Rome, called Egeria, the divine consort and counselor of Numa Pompilius, the second king of Rome. Later, the name Egeria basically took on the meaning of advisor or counselor in general, so we could think this character in Genshin Impact may be someone close to the Archon, like Yaemiko to the Shogun. Next scene, we see Freminet's siblings, Lyney and Lynette, at their magic show. First of all, Lyney is a pyro user, while Lynette is an anemo user. The most reasonable guess for their weapon of choice would be a catalyst, since they're magicians. Lyney is the face of the duo and the main protagonist of the magic show. In fact, he calls himself the greatest magician in all Teyvat. He's basically the complete opposite of Freminet. He's outgoing, he steals people's hearts, makes them smile, but he's also very enigmatic. His introduction's title is Spectacle of Phantasmagoria, which gives me visual vibes. On the other hand, Lynette is more similar to Freminet, maybe even more introvert, to the point that she avoids people by telling them that she's entering standby mode. Despite that, she still goes on stage with her brother. Lynette may be a walking contradiction since she doesn't care about applause, interviews and VIPs. She avoids everything and everyone, and she also doesn't care about anything and anyone. Her introduction's title is Elegance in the Shadows, and considering how she stays away from people's attention, it really fits. One detail though makes little sense. Freminet, Lyney and Lynette are siblings, yet Lynette has cat traits that the other two don't have. There is one last detail about her, but we need to analyze the scene first. Something clearly is up with Lynette. She looks emotionless, not uninterested, but plain lifeless. What Lyney says is extremely interesting. People believe lies, and what they see is what they think or expect to be true. But what you see is not real. Most of us are obviously thinking about Nicole, and I bet this is a nation in which her warning will be relevant the most. But let's go back to Lynette. When people interact with Lyney and Lynette, sometimes these people feel watched, but whose spying vanishes before they could be seen. Now, and this may sound like a stretch, but in Genshin Impact everything is possible. Are we sure that Lynette is a real person? Is she alive? I mean, she's emotionless, she jokes about standby mode, which reminds me of Catherine. Freminet is always looking out for her, like him telling a vacuum cleaner to stop messing with Lynette. I bet he's the one spying on people. His constellation being an automaton. I think it's clear enough where I'm going with this. There is a slight chance that Lynette is an android. What you see is not real after all. Change of scene, and there's Navia, a Geo character. She's one of the two characters that caught my eye, hence I will get her no matter what. She's extremely elegant and goes around with a parasol. Her name seems to come from Navia, the goddess of pre-Roman people in Iberia. She was sometimes defined as a water deity, so it fits with Fontaine. The other option would be the water spirits from Slavic paganism called Navia, but I think Slavic mythology should be expected in Snezhnaya, not in Fontaine. Sadly, there isn't much to say about her, except for the fact that she flies away because of the wind and her parasol, just like Mary Poppins. Underneath the building where Navia was, we see Charlotte taking picture of her as she's taken by the wind. We already know Charlotte, she's a journalist from the Steambird and a cryo user. By the way, I hope she's a catalyst user. She just looks at the picture and took one and discards it. Next scene. He is the other character that caught my eye, and this feels like Sumeru all over again with no Hatham. Anyway, this is Wriothesley. Extremely elegant, he is another character that clearly doesn't like sleeves like most of the characters in Hoyoverse. Anyway, he has a lot of scars on his forearms, chest and neck and under his right eye, and a peculiar decoration on his left hand and on his lapel, a wolf, which gives me the Witcher vibes. By the way, all the more reason for me to pull for him. I mean, my channel logo is a wolf, which is also my first tattoo, and I'm obsessed with wolves. Wriothesley seems to be reading, but then Sigewinne, a cute little bunny character, arrives out of nowhere and puts a drink in front of him. He goes for his tea but touches the drink she put on the table. And here's the thing. He is blind, and it is clear because of the way he recognizes the teacup by touching it, but also by the way he moves his eyes, which is a little bit stereotypical, but it's okay. You can clearly see where the problem is though. He was reading some papers at the beginning of the scene. Anyway, his name seems to come from the English noble family of Wriothesley from the 17th century. Among them, Harry Wriothesley, 3rd Earl of Southampton, was both John Florio and William Shakespeare's patron, and the latter even dedicated 2 poems to him, Venus and Adonis, and the other one I can say the title on YouTube. So if you're interested, you'll have to look for it yourselves. An English noble seems out of place in Fontaine, but Harry Wriothesley did live in Angers for a while, met Henry IV, King of France, lived at the court and spent 2 months in Paris, so that may be it. On the other hand, Sigewinne, the cute but apparently mischievous little bunny, seems to come from the Middle High German heroic epics Wolf Dietrich and Orkney. In the epic, there's a character described as an ugly mermaid who asks Wolf Dietrich to marry her, but every time he refused, she cast a spell on him, causing him trouble. That until an angel demanded Elsa, the mermaid, to release Wolf Dietrich from his madness induced by her spell. Elsa did that and asked him to marry her for a 3rd time, and explains that her appearance is the product of a curse laid upon her by her stepmother. Elsa then took Wolf Dietrich to her realm, Old Troy, and she jumped into a fountain of youth, revealing her true form, the most beautiful woman in the land named Sigewinne or Sigewinne. Wolf Dietrich did the same and he also became the most handsome young man. According to a study by Peter Krüger, link in the description, this story may refer in astronomical terms to the constellation of Lupus, because it fits pretty well with the constellations around it, and guess what? Lupus means wolf, just like the decorations on Wriothesley. Next scene, I guess we are in the prison because of the shadow of the bars, or at least that's the vibe they went for, and we see Neuvillette. I gotta say, I was completely shocked when I found out that Neuvillette was a man, since the name is definitely not a male one. Once again, the elegance is incredible. 2 interesting details. His ears are unique in the game so far, and his eyes, specifically his pupils, are very strange. They almost look like snake pupils, but not quite. Maybe, like Sigewinne, he comes from yet another new species of humans. Behind him there's Clorinde. She's an electro character and I would guess she uses guns, considering what we see. I don't really know who she's supposed to be in the story, but since she's following Neuvillette, I'd say that she has to be a member of the courtroom, probably some kind of military woman. Could she be a part of the Marechaussee from Nymph Stream? Now that I think about it, yeah, I'm gonna pull for her for sure as well. Interestingly, when she shoots, we see Navia again, so there's a chance she's considered an enemy of the nation, like a thief or maybe a pirate, considering the helm decoration on her dress, which makes her even more interesting. Back to Clorinde, her name seems to come from the 5 ships of the French Navy, all called indeed Clorinde, in honor of the warrior maiden Clorinda from Jerusalem delivered by Torquato Tasso, an Italian poet of the 16th century, and just saying his name takes me back straight to high school. The scene changes again and we see Lyney and Lynette ending their performance, and there's Arlecchino in the audience. And I think this is the most interesting part of the whole video, especially because if you watch my video about the Harbingers, Arlecchino is the one that intrigues me the most. She speaks about actors who need to mesmerize the whole crowd to be defined good ones, and we do know that she's a wolf in sheep's clothing. She's seen by the people as a charitable, compassionate woman because of the orphanage she runs in Snezhnaya, the House of Hearth. But it's all a facade, a masquerade as the whole Fontaine chapter calls it. If you watched my video about Furina, I predicted her presence in Fontaine, because it seems to me that she's from the Narzissenkreuz Institute of Fontaine that we read about in the artifact set Nymph Stream. I also said that we're gonna meet Sandrone here for the same reason, so hopefully I was right about that as well. What I'm most interested in right now, just like before, is Arlecchino's eyes, especially because they had them light up when she snapped her fingers. There is one theory here. Arlecchino is watching Lyney and Lynette's show and she's disappointed because it's not enough. This makes me think that the three siblings may have a huge secret that would also explain why two of them are humans and one is of cat plotline, but they're still siblings. They may come from the House of Hearth, Arlecchino's orphanage, where the orphans grow up as a family regardless of their individual origins, and become Fatui members. So there is a chance that they may be Snezhnayan spies with a mission in Fontaine. I mean,
My mission.
Furthermore, we see 8 shadows as the camera turns around Arlecchino, the exact number of active Fatui Harbingers, so maybe, just like Scaramouche said, she's trying to wrap her fellow Harbingers around her fingers as well. Last scene we see Furina, which I'm going to safely assume is the Hydra Archon fossil or human name, burning a black photograph in the courtroom, also called Opéra Épiclèse, it seems. The English translation is epiclesis, which is the moment during Catholic Mass when the priest invokes the Holy Spirit to turn bread and wine into the body and blood of Christ, so it feels like the court cases are seen as the holiest event in Fontaine. She has heterochromia. Her right eye is light blue with a darker blue pupil, while her left eye is dark blue with a pink outline and light blue pupil. She wears a top hat, a black glove on one hand and a white one on the other. She's filled with decorations that look like water droplets, and to support the fact that she's fossilor, her hair is white with a blue fade, just like any other Archon with the color of their own element. She's definitely childish and borderline obnoxious because she's not having fun at the courtroom. She's looking for a real twist, so she's definitely there to try and have fun. And I would imagine that we will deliver on that real twist as soon as we'll set foot in Fontaine. Neuvillette immediately puts her in her place, despite her being the Archon, because of her disrespectful behavior in the courtroom. Which, by the way, wow, keep it up, Neuvillette. Last thing about Furina, her name may come from the ancient Roman goddess Furina, a goddess of springs in the earliest period of Roman religious history. Her name was related to moving or bubbling water, which makes sense in Genshin Impact since the Hydra enemy's unique attacks are bubbles. The scene shows us a little bit more about the courtroom, and we can see a big scale with 2 bright blue things on the plates that look like water droplets, because we haven't seen enough of them so far. What I'm taking from this Overture teaser is that Fontaine is going to be the realm of deception, lies, and appearances, which is something we already guessed since the whole chapter is called Masquerade of the Guilty, but also by the fact that in the Varunada Lazurite Gemstone, the Archon defines herself almost as a saint without sin, although clearly she is not since Justitia Omnia Vincit, justice always wins. Needless to say, I have great expectations from this nation. The main theme seems to be almost detective-like, so we'll probably need to read between the lines to discover the truth, and I can't wait for it. And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you enjoy Genshin Impact Theory videos, consider subscribing. Also turn the notification bell on if you don't want to miss my videos or when I go live here on YouTube. I guess I'll see you all when a new teaser comes out, because I'm definitely making a new video then. In the meantime, let's enjoy version 3.8 since it's about to begin. Thanks for watching, and until next time, over and out.